All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're looking at two totally different ends of the modern firepower spectrum. You've got a weapon that's small enough for a couple of soldiers to carry, and then you've got this massive digital shield that can protect hundreds of kilometers of airspace. We're talking about the evolution of the Mortar and the incredible power of the S-400 missile system.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with this idea of the high and low. Then we'll dive deep into how the simple mortar is getting a high-tech makeover. After that, we'll switch gears to the S-400's massive defensive shield and the tech behind it. And finally, we'll bring it all together to compare these two very different approaches to firepower. Okay, so let's really set the scene here. Think about it. On one side, you have the up-close, tactical world of the infantry soldier, right? They need firepower that's immediate and precise. But on the other side, you're playing a completely different game, a strategic, long-range chess match of national air defense. These are two fundamentally different ways of thinking about warfare. I want you to just picture this for a second. Imagine a small team perched on some mountain ridge with a weapon that can literally stop an armored column dead in its tracks. Now, look up. Imagine an invisible shield in the sky, a digital network that can see and destroy 36 different threats at the same time, from hundreds of kilometers away. That's the incredible contrast we're digging into.
All right, let's jump into our first topic. We're going to see how the mortar, a weapon that's been around for ages, is being completely transformed for the modern battlefield. Trust me, it is so much more than just a metal tube these days.
So why are mortars so critical for the infantry? Well, it all comes down to one thing: high-angle fire. This means they can launch a shell that goes way up and comes almost straight down. Think about it. That lets you hit targets hiding behind hills or inside trenches, places that regular guns just can't reach. In mountains, it's not just useful, it's absolutely essential. And they're not all built the same. We're seeing some really cool specializations. Take the STK mortar from Singapore. They've mounted it on a light 4x4 vehicle and used a clever system to reduce the recoil. It's all about speed and mobility. Now, contrast that with Finland's twin barrel system. This beast is meant for big, open plains. It's not about being nimble, it's about putting a massive amount of firepower on a target fast.
And the way armies organize them is pretty logical. Think of it like a toolkit. At the company level, the guys on the front line, you get the small, portable 60mm mortars for quick support. Move up to the battalion level, and you get the bigger, harder-hitting 81mm mortars. And for the really tough jobs, that's when you bring in the heavy-duty 120mm systems. It's a layered, sensible approach. So, how exactly do you make a mortar smart? It's all about the add-ons. First, you give it a digital brain, a ballistic computer that does all the complex math, linked up to a navigation system so it knows exactly where it is. Second, you automate the loading process, which is really important to avoid damaging the delicate electronics in the new smart shells. And third, the magic ingredient. The shells themselves become guided bombs, using GPS or lasers to fly directly to their target.
So what's the payoff for all this tech? Well, a standard mortar might reach a few kilometers, right? But when you take a modern 120mm mortar and give it a rocket-assisted projectile, you get this: 17.5 kilometers. That is an absolutely incredible range. It's taking a close support weapon and pushing it way into artillery territory. Okay, so we've seen the precision scalpel. Now let's zoom out, way out, and look at the massive strategic shield in the sky. We are going from the scalpel to the dome.
So this is the S-400 Triumph, or what NATO calls the SA-21 Growler. Its job sounds simple, but it is incredibly hard to pull off. Find and destroy basically any threat in the air. We're talking everything from small drones and fighter jets to super-fast cruise and ballistic missiles.
The first number you have to wrap your head around with the S-400 is its engagement range: 400 kilometers. To put that into perspective, that's like having a launcher sitting in Brussels and being able to hit a target over London. It creates a massive bubble where it can deny access to enemy aircraft. And this number is almost as mind-blowing: 5 minutes. In today's combat environment, if you stay in one place for too long, you're a target. The fact that this entire complex system can go from driving down a road to being ready to fire in just 5 minutes is what makes it so survivable. It can shoot, and then it can scoot before the enemy can find it.
Now this is what really makes it a strategic weapon. A single S-400 unit isn't just dealing with one threat at a time. It's like a digital octopus. Its radar and computers can track and fire on up to 36 different targets all at once. That's how it goes from just a missile launcher to a true area denial system.
All right, so we know what it can do, but how does it actually work?
Let's pop the hood and look at the engineering that makes the S-400 so effective.
It all starts with this really ingenious method called a cold launch. Instead of the rocket motor firing inside the launch tube, a gas system basically pops the missile about 30 meters up into the air. Then, once it's safely clear of the vehicle, the main engine kicks in. This does two brilliant things. It protects the very expensive launcher from the rocket blast, and it allows the missile to turn and face its target before it accelerates away.
And here's another key point. The S-400 is not a one-trick pony. It uses different missiles for different threats, creating layers of defense. For those very distant strategic targets, it can use something like the 40N6 missile. For closer, high-altitude threats, it might use the 9M96. And when these interceptors get close, they use a special warhead that directs the explosion for a guaranteed kill. It's about having the right tool for every specific job. So, we've looked at the low, the precise, close-range mortar. And we've looked at the high, the vast, strategic S-400. Let's bring it all home and really compare these two philosophies of firepower side by side. And this really is the perfect way to think about it. The modern mortar has become a precision scalpel. It's for surgical strikes, for that close-in, dirty work in tough terrain where bigger weapons can't go. The S-400, though, is a digital dome. It creates this huge, invisible ceiling over the entire area of operations, detecting and killing anything that flies into its massive 400-kilometer radius. Now, for anyone studying this material, this kind of diagram is your best friend. It's a super simple way to visualize the S-400's layered defense. You can see the inner rings for closer threats, the middle layer for standard aircraft, and that massive outer ring reaching all the way out to 400 kilometers. It's a fantastic visual that just sums up the whole concept perfectly.
Okay, let's do a super quick recap of the key takeaways. First, mortars aren't just simple tubes anymore. They're becoming smart, precision weapons. Second, with rocket assistance, they can now reach out to an incredible 17.5 kilometers. On the other side, the S-400 can hit targets 400 kilometers away, and it can do this while being highly mobile, deploying in just 5 minutes thanks to that clever cold launch system, using a whole family of missiles to create a layered defense.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Go back to that cold launch technique. How does that one single mechanical feature, just popping the missile out of the tube before lighting the engine, how does that directly lead to two of the S-400's biggest strategic advantages? Its rapid deployment speed and its ability to engage targets in a full 360-degree circle. It's a perfect example of how smart engineering creates a massive tactical edge.